mean, obviously it can work both ways.
What
was your reaction?
I think everybody at the non-autonomy level has been worried that you would become a farm team, and that your best player would go to Alabama, and that then you would go take the next best player at a lower level school and move them up. And there wasn't necessarily a lot of that. It really, for the most part, from my understanding of the portal, of the 2,600 and some that were in the portal, only 40% of them transferred into a school and got another scholarship. And the percentage of those who went up, what could be considered up a level, whether it's FCS or Division II up to FBS, or from Group of 5 to autonomy, very, very small. So there wasn't so much of that now. This is really year one for it, and we'll see how it plays out. I think a lot of kids got into the portal and found that it was not a panacea. Oh, I'm not going to Alabama. I don't have those opportunities up there that maybe they thought that were going to be available for them. So over time, the lessons learned from it, I tend to think we won't worry about the portal in a year or two. We worried about cost of attendance and fretted over it. We don't even think about it anymore. But we're fretting over name, image, likeness. I think in a year or two, we will not fret and worry about that at all. I think the same thing with the portal.
If I could ask you about the decision you all made yesterday. I mean, obviously you're in the city of New Orleans, but you all went even a step above and beyond because you're an outdoor venue. Just kind of the reasoning behind it and why it was done and how you feel about it.
Well, technically, I think in the city rules, because we're over 500 people and we're going to be over 50%, you were forced to comply. We'd actually on Monday more or less made the decision to do that as an institution, exactly what the city ended up doing. Knowing the city and some conversations that was headed this way, we kind of sat on it and waited to see how it would all play out, and really this allowed us to operate consistently with all the other venues, with the Saints along the way. And frankly, from our standpoint, with 95% of the students already vaccinated, 92% of the faculty and staff, there was a great interest in protecting the campus. And so that was really the motivation as we looked at it. There's a greater public health protection here, and frankly, I think everybody inside the department or at the universities is more or less thrilled that this restriction was put in place, because we all see the numbers, and it was 17 months ago today that we shut this thing down and sent everybody home. Friday the 13th of March 2020 is when college athletics basically ended. And now here we are 17 months again, back on Friday the 13th, putting back into place some onerous restrictions, because we haven't at least taught ourselves enough lessons to get out of this pandemic, even when the opportunity is there. So it's necessary, it's needed, and hopefully, as I've told some of the schools in the back half of our schedule, hopefully we're going to see our trend lines turn, and that we'll be able to get back to what we consider normal sooner rather than later. But this is the path we have to do to get back to normal.
You're the first school to do this. Do you think others would follow? Would you even urge others to maybe look at something like this?
We will not be the last. I've already talked to 3 or 4 schools. Discussions like this are happening in a lot of places. Obviously, political climate in communities and in cities and in states is going to impact whether schools do this. But Tulane was one of the first to mandate vaccines, and now hundreds of institutions have mandated vaccines for their students. So I do think as we get closer, and the numbers in our geographic region are such that it makes sense that we might have been first. But as numbers start to spike in other regions, I think you'll see others follow suit.
And just final question here, as far as the fan experience, do you bring on extra security? How do you make sure it's seamless with how you check, I guess, the vaccine?
The one thing I know right now is we've got to find a lot of proactive ways to verify the vaccination so that everybody doesn't line up the gate. It's midday on one of the hottest days of the year, right, when we play Oklahoma, and people aren't going to want to sit in the stadium for 2 hours. And so we've got to figure out a way to do it remotely, to have different access points, maybe into a larger outside perimeter. But everybody's working on that now. I think next week we'll have a plan. But my goal is that no one will get checked at the gate. Everybody will be verified at the gate. So coming into the stadium, it's going to be like it always has been. The other factor for us, with maybe the exception of Georgia Tech when the stadium opened, the stadium's never been tested with an event like Oklahoma being here. Never been tested with the crowd, never been tested, first game of the year. There's always bugs first game of the year. So there's, this adds another level of, a layer of complication in logistical challenges. But the one other fortunate thing we have is a lot of the workers that work at our games also work at the Saints games. If there's such a thing as a professional gate attendant, professional ushers, professionals, working a professional game on one day and a college game on the next, we've got them in town. So there's a little bit of comfort in that.
So you hope to get as many people pre-checked as you can, but you will have people check your cards.
Oh yeah, we'll check cards, and we'll check cards against identifications, and do everything that the mayor's directive calls for us to do. There's a challenge, when you have a mask mandate inside of an outdoor venue, and everybody's eating and drinking, right? And so I want to make sure we're not too onerous as we enforce the mask mandate. I think people are using good common sense, and I'll expect to see that when the game starts. And it's really my hope that, with the exception of showing your phone and showing your ID at some point in time, when people get here, they're not going to notice anything different game day than they might have noticed last year, other than the fact we're going to have 100% capacity. And to me, the biggest thing of all this is that we have a full stadium, and everybody that wants to come can come.
How do you? Are you going to have people walking around saying, "Pull your mask up"? What do you do?
We experienced in baseball that we had the mask mandate. We were outdoors in baseball, and we had folks with signs, just walking around. The less we can have personal confrontation when you enforce a mask mandate, the better. So we'll go around and just try to do simple reminders. We'll do scoreboard reminders. We'll do PA reminders, and there'll be walking folks throughout the stadium, trying to remind people to get your masks up. But it's going to be hot. Everybody's going to have a water or something in front of them. So we understand that as well.
Troy, with some conference realignment and OU and Texas headed to the SEC, and the potential that maybe the AAC could snag some of those leftover Big 12 schools, do you like the idea of the AAC expanding and maybe adding some more high-quality schools to the conference?
I like the idea of our league becoming as strong as it can possibly be. I love the idea of us finding our way to autonomy status, because you are recognized in such a different way at that point in time. But you Power 5, Group of 5, Power 6. I use autonomy, non-autonomy. Autonomy gives you a different seat at the legislative table. It gives you representation on championship committees that you don't have when you're not autonomy. And the stronger our league gets, the more opportunity we're going to have to get to that stage in the governance process of the NCAA. So whatever we can do to make our league stronger, and at the same time, everybody wants their league to be stronger, but President Fitz, his first interest is making sure that our institution is in as good a place as it can be. And so that's always my assignment, is make sure we're going to be in as good a place as we can possibly be. Hopefully that's in a stronger, more empowered AAC.